They say grief brings families together, but sometimes it reveals who people really are. I'm Eleanor, and at 73, I thought I'd seen the worst life could offer. Back in March, when my son Marcus collapsed from a heart attack at just 45, I felt my world shatter completely. But then something happened that made that pain seem small. Today, sitting in my garden that Marcus loved so much, I'm finally sharing this because every parent needs to know how cruel people can become when money's involved. If you're listening, drop your location below. And please subscribe if this story needs to be heard. The funeral was everything Marcus would have hated. Claire, his wife of 8 years, insisted on an elaborate ceremony at the most expensive funeral home in Melbourne. White roses everywhere, a string quartet, catered reception for 200 guests. I wanted something simple, something that honored the gentleman who used to bring me tea every Sunday morning and fix my broken fence without being asked. Mum, let Claire handle the arrangements, Marcus had always said when I'd mention her cold behavior. She's just different from us. The difference was putting it mildly. In 8 years, Claire never once called me by name. Always Marcus's mother or simply her when speaking to others about me. The service felt like a performance. Claire wore designer black, dabbing her eyes with a lace handkerchief while accepting condolences like a grieving widow from a movie. I sat in the front row, my heart breaking not just for Marcus, but watching this woman who'd never truly loved him play the perfect wife. She's holding up remarkably well. I heard someone whisper behind me. If only they knew what I knew, that Claire had been texting someone named Ryan throughout the entire service. I glimpsed her phone when she thought no one was looking. After we lowered Marcus into the ground, people gathered at our family home, the house where I'd raised Marcus alone after his father died when he was 12. The same house where Marcus had brought Claire as his new bride, where I'd welcomed her with open arms and genuine hope that she'd become the daughter I'd never had. The guests slowly filtered out as evening approached. My sister Margaret helped me clean up, stacking plates and folding chairs while Claire disappeared upstairs. That woman hasn't lifted a finger all day, Margaret muttered, scraping leftover sandwiches into containers. Even at her own husband's funeral, by 8 o'clock, only Margaret and I remained in the kitchen. That's when Claire appeared in the doorway, no longer the grieving widow. Her makeup was fresh, her black dress replaced with jeans and a sweater. She looked relieved. Eleanor, we need to talk, she said, her voice crisp and businesslike. The fake tears were gone, replaced by something cold and calculating. Margaret sensed the tension immediately. I should probably head home, she said, squeezing my shoulder. Call me if you need anything. After Margaret left, Claire sat across from me at the kitchen table where Marcus and I had shared thousands of meals. The same table where he'd done his homework, where we'd planned his wedding, where just last month he'd told me about his concerns regarding Claire's spending habits. This house, Claire began, gesturing around the room, it's mine now. Marcus and I were married, which means I inherit everything. I've already spoken to a real estate agent, and she thinks we can get at least $2 million for this place. I stared at her, unable to process what I was hearing. Claire, this is my home. I've lived here for 35 years. Marcus grew up here. She shrugged, examining her manicured nails. That's sentimental nonsense. The house is in Marcus's name, and now it's mine. I'm giving you 2 weeks to pack your things and find somewhere else to live. I'm sure there are nice retirement homes that would suit someone your age. The cruelty in her voice was breathtaking. This woman had just buried her husband, and she was already planning to sell his childhood home and throw his mother onto the street. Marcus would never want this, I whispered, my hands trembling. He loved this house. He loved having me here. Claire laughed, a sound devoid of warmth. Marcus was too soft. He let you manipulate him with guilt and sentiment. Well, I'm not Marcus. I have plans, and they don't include supporting his elderly mother indefinitely. I thought about all the times I'd bitten my tongue when Claire made snide comments about my cooking, my decorating, my old-fashioned ways. All the times Marcus had asked me to just try to get along with her because he loved us both. All the family dinners where she'd sat silent, scrolling through her phone while Marcus and I talked. What plans? I asked, though I dreaded the answer. Her eyes lit up with excitement. Ryan and I are moving to the Gold Coast. We're going to open a boutique hotel. This house sale will give us the capital we need to make it happen. Ryan, the name from her phone during the funeral. My son wasn't even cold on the ground, and she was already planning her new life with another man. How long? I asked quietly. How long what? How long have you been seeing Ryan? For the first time, Claire looked uncomfortable. That's none of your business. What matters is that I'm being generous by giving you 2 weeks. I could have you out tomorrow if I wanted. I stood up slowly, my legs shaky with shock and grief. Marcus trusted you. He loved you. Marcus was naive, she said, standing as well. He thought love was enough. But love doesn't pay for the lifestyle I deserve. This house, his life insurance, his savings, it's all mine now, and I intend to use it to build something better than this suburban prison. That night, I lay in the bed where I'd comforted Marcus through childhood nightmares, where I'd nursed him through chicken pox and broken hearts. The house felt different now, tainted by Claire's words. Every room held memories of my son, but now they were overshadowed by the knowledge that the woman he'd married saw our home as nothing more than a commodity to be sold. I thought about calling Margaret, but what could she do? I thought about fighting Claire legally, but I was a 73-year-old widow on a pension. She was right about one thing: the house was in Marcus's name, and she was his wife. As dawn broke through my bedroom curtains, I made a decision. I would pack my things and leave quietly. Not because Claire deserved to win, but because I couldn't bear to turn my son's memory into a battlefield. Marcus had always hated conflict, always tried to keep peace between us. But as I started pulling photo albums from my dresser, something nagged at me. 3 months ago, Marcus had asked me to witness some documents he was signing. Just boring legal stuff, Mum, he'd said. But I need a witness who isn't Claire. The memory of those documents haunted me as I folded Marcus's baby clothes into boxes. Why would he need a witness who wasn't Claire? I'd signed without reading, trusting my son completely, but now those papers felt significant. On Thursday morning, exactly 1 week after the funeral, I was taping up my 3rd box when the doorbell rang. Claire had left early with her suitcases, muttering something about finalizing arrangements with Ryan. I assumed it was another sympathy visitor, but through the peephole I saw a man in an expensive suit carrying a briefcase. Mrs. Eleanor Whitmore? He asked when I opened the door. I'm James Patterson from Patterson and Associates. I was your son Marcus's solicitor. My heart skipped. Please, come in. He stepped into the living room, glancing around at my half-packed boxes with concern. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm confused. Why are you packing? I explained Claire's ultimatum, watching his expression grow increasingly troubled. When I finished, he shook his head slowly. Mrs. Whitmore, I'm afraid there's been a serious misunderstanding. May I ask, has anyone read Marcus's will to you? His will? I stared at him. Claire said everything automatically went to her as his wife. Mr. Patterson opened his briefcase and withdrew a thick document. That's not entirely accurate. 3 months ago, Marcus came to my office very distressed. He'd discovered some disturbing information about his wife's activities and wanted to ensure you were protected. My hands trembled as he spread papers across the coffee table, the same table where Claire had delivered her cruel ultimatum. Marcus established a living trust, Mr. Patterson explained. While Claire does inherit his personal effects and half his savings, this house and the majority of his assets were placed in trust with you as the primary beneficiary. The room spun around me. That's impossible. The house is in Marcus's name. It was. But he transferred ownership to the trust 6 weeks before his death. Legally, you own this house, Mrs. Whitmore. You always have, since the trust was established. I thought about those documents I'd witnessed, Marcus's nervous energy that day, his insistence that Claire not be present. He knew, I whispered. He suspected his wife was having an affair, Mr. Patterson confirmed gently. He hired a private investigator and discovered she'd been seeing someone named Ryan Mitchell for over a year. He also found evidence that she'd been pressuring him to take out additional life insurance and had been researching divorce settlements. The betrayal cut deeper than I'd imagined possible. Not just Claire's affair, but the calculated way she'd been planning to leave Marcus while maximizing her financial gain. There's more, Mr. Patterson continued. Marcus left detailed instructions. If anything happened to him, I was to wait 1 week before contacting you. He wanted to see how Claire would behave in his absence. He was testing her, I realized. In a way, yes. He hoped he was wrong about her character, but he wanted you protected either way. Just then, we heard Claire's key in the front door. She walked into the living room chattering on her phone, stopping short when she saw Mr. Patterson. Ryan, I'll call you back, she said quickly, ending the call. Who are you? James Patterson, Marcus's solicitor. I believe we need to have a conversation about your husband's estate. Claire's confident demeanor faltered slightly, but she recovered quickly. Of course, I've been expecting this. When can we finalize the transfer of assets? Mr. Patterson gestured to the papers spread across the table. Mrs. Mitchell, I'm afraid there's been a misunderstanding about your inheritance. It's Mrs. Whitmore. Claire corrected sharply. And what misunderstanding? Your husband established a living trust 3 months before his death. While you do inherit some assets, the house and primary estate belong to his mother. The color drained from Claire's face. That's impossible. I'm his wife. Everything goes to the spouse. Not when the spouse has been having an affair and planning to leave, Mr. Patterson said calmly. Marcus was quite thorough in documenting your relationship with Ryan Mitchell. Claire's mask finally slipped completely. You can't prove anything. Marcus is dead. He can't testify to whatever lies you think you have, Mr. Patterson pulled out a manila envelope. Actually, he can. He left a video statement, recorded in my office, explaining his reasons for establishing the trust. He also left this letter for you. With shaking hands, Claire opened the envelope. As she read, her face went through a range of emotions. Shock, anger, and finally, defeat. The letter was brief, but I could see it contained details that only Marcus would know. This is ridiculous, she said, but her voice lacked conviction. I'll contest this. I'll fight it in court. That's your right, Mr. Patterson replied. However, I should mention that Marcus also documented your affair extensively. If you choose to contest the will, all of that evidence becomes public record. I imagine Ryan might find that uncomfortable. Claire crumpled the letter, her carefully constructed world collapsing around her. How much? She asked finally. I'm sorry. How much do I get from his savings and insurance? Mr. Patterson consulted his papers. After taxes and legal fees, approximately $40,000. It was a fraction of what she'd expected, barely enough for a deposit on the boutique hotel she'd been planning. The house alone was worth 50 times that amount. I want you out of my house, I said quietly. It was the first time I'd spoken since Mr. Patterson arrived, and my voice was stronger than I felt. Claire looked at me with pure hatred. This isn't over, Eleanor. I'll find a way to Mrs. Mitchell. Mr. Patterson interrupted. I should inform you that threatening the beneficiary of a legal trust is a criminal offense. I'd suggest you collect your belongings and leave peacefully. That afternoon, I watched from my bedroom window as Claire loaded her car with suitcases. She moved with angry, jerky motions, slamming the trunk and car doors. Before driving away, she looked up at the house one final time. Even from a distance, I could see the fury in her posture. Mr. Patterson stayed to explain the trust details. Marcus had been incredibly thorough, ensuring I'd never have to worry about money or housing again. He'd even included provisions for home maintenance and health care. He loved you very much, Mr. Patterson said as he prepared to leave. He was heartbroken about Claire's betrayal, but his primary concern was always your well-being. That evening, I sat in Marcus's favorite chair, holding the letter he'd left for me. His handwriting was shaky. He must have been emotional when he wrote it. Mum, it began, if you're reading this, then I'm gone and Claire has shown her true colors. I'm sorry I couldn't protect you from her cruelty while I was alive, but I hope this trust ensures she can never hurt you. You gave me everything. Love, stability, values. This house holds all our best memories. It should stay in our family, where it belongs. I love you always, Marcus. 6 months later, I learned that Claire and Ryan's hotel venture had failed spectacularly. They'd underestimated the costs and overestimated their business skills. According to Margaret, who'd heard through mutual friends, Claire was working as a receptionist in Brisbane, and Ryan had moved back to his ex-wife. I still live in our family home, surrounded by memories of the son who loved me enough to see through deception and protect me even after death. The garden blooms more beautifully than ever, and I've started hosting Sunday dinners for neighbors who've become like family. Sometimes I think about Claire's words that terrible night, how she called this place a suburban prison. She was wrong. This house isn't a prison. It's a sanctuary built on love, sacrifice, and the unbreakable bond between a mother and son who truly understood what family means. Moral lesson: love's greatest victory isn't in grand gestures, but in quiet protection that endures beyond death, teaching us that genuine family bonds triumph over greed's temporary illusions.
If this story has touched your heart in any way, I kindly ask you to do something simple but powerful. Please take a moment to subscribe to this channel, Grandma's Tales, where true stories are shared with honesty, emotion, healing, and deep life lessons. If you believe stories like this one deserve to be heard, click the like button and share it with someone who needs it. You never know, your action could open someone's eyes or even save a life. And before you go, please leave a comment telling me where you're watching from. Your words mean a lot to me, and I'd love to know how far Grandma's voice is reaching across the world. On Grandma's Tales, every story is real, every message is true, and every listener matters. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you, and I love you all.